Hi, how you doing, and welcome back to a video on the channel. What we have for you today is our preview video going to Game Week 33. We're going to talk about how my team did in Game Week 32, as well as my transfers, thoughts and team selection moving forward for this game week. If you are new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. The support has been awesome all season. Hopefully we can keep it going for this final push in FPL. So let's take a look at the team, and as you can tell by the title of the video, it was a pretty good game week. As we get the team on the board here, I can tell you that I did have a green arrow of about 12k, which might not seem like a lot, but when you end up being 15k overall in the world, it's a massive green arrow to almost half your rank. It's probably the highest we've been in about 15 game weeks overall. So what a fantastic time of the season to make that late push. We did break 2,000 points, and largely it was down to players who other people had taken out of their teams. So someone like Pedro Porro, who got his goal for Spurs, and someone like Watkins, who got 2 goals. We stuck with Watkins when he missed the Man City game, and then he's gone and got 2 goals, and he's been our player of the season, to be honest. I think, his consistency in terms of point scoring, making him, the highest scoring FPL player of everyone all season, is just brilliant. So to have him in our team has really been a big bonus. That Salah captain did work out as well, because he scored that penalty late on against Man United, and I was really glad he scored that penalty and didn't miss it, because that would have been just a huge swing in points overall. And other than that, Saka did well, Haaland did well, Gabriel got a clean sheet, and the others picked up 1 or 2 points. So it was a really good overall score of 80 points for the game week. Let's take a look at the fixtures. So how you view these fixtures and captaincy this game week really depends on how you think teams who are in the Champions League are going to do, because you've got Man City at home to Luton, and you don't have to be an FPL expert to say, well, Haaland should probably be your captain this game week. But the flip side of that is there a chance that Haaland gets rested? Because you would like to think, from a Man City point of view, that they're probably going to beat Luton with or without Haaland. So do you take a risk and captain Haaland, or do you captain Salah at home to Crystal Palace and then assume that Salah is more likely to play than Haaland and just hedge your bets a bit? Because if Haaland does play, he's got a much bigger chance of getting a big points haul than probably someone like Salah does against Crystal Palace. Even though it's Crystal Palace at home, you would say they're tougher than Luton at home. So it's probably between Haaland and Salah for me in terms of captaincy. Really just depends how risky you're feeling. So my team as it stands for this game week is as follows, and it's a pretty good team, to be honest, but I do have 2 free transfers. I've got no money in the bank, but 2 free transfers, and I'm going to free hit in game week 34, and then I'm going to wildcard in 35. So with the rank I'm at, I feel like I'm in a really good position with, I've got my chips to play, and I've got 2 free transfers with a team that looks really good, and I can just single out this game week for transfers. Then I single out 34 for transfers, and then I've got my wildcard where I can have a little mini season of, a few game weeks to finish the league off. So with that in mind, I know I talked about Watkins being my player of the season, but he's got Arsenal away, and I don't really fancy Aston Villa as a team in the running. I think they're maybe going to run out of steam a little bit, and they're still playing in Europe to distract them as well. So my first transfer is likely to be Watkins out. Now, I've put 8.4 million, even though he's 8.8 million, because when I got him in, he was 8 million. So I've got his transfer profit going up there. So it is a big move to make, because I'm likely not going to want to afford him back in if I take him out. Now, the options I'm looking at, first of all, is Darwin Núñez. Now, all the players on this list I can afford, because they're all lower priced than Watkins. But what does have an impact is the other player I get in as well, because with the money I save on transferring Watkins out, it depends on how good a player I can get in on the rest of my team. So for me, Darwin has a good fixture at home to Liverpool, and he is quite highly owned. Even though it says 22.5%, a large amount of players in the top 100k will have owned Darwin Núñez, because maybe they're not free hitting in 34 and they want him in for the double, or Liverpool have had quite good fixtures recently as well, and they might have got them in before. So he's a reasonably safe option for me. Option number 2 would be Matthias Cunha. Now, the downside of him is that he's just coming back from an injury. Nottingham Forest, even though it's away, is a good fixture from an attacking point of view. He is a lot cheaper than Darwin Núñez, and only 2.7% owned. So he is a massive differential. He's not very likely to make the cut here just because of his lack of game time. My third option is Alvarez from Man City. Now, he's probably reasonably highly owned because a lot of people who aren't playing anymore will have had them in their teams from the beginning. I reckon in terms of the top 100k, not a lot of people have Alvarez, but it goes back to sort of what we were saying before in terms of Man City have Real Madrid this week, and then they've had Real Madrid next week as well. So this fixture against Luton is sandwiched in between two Champions League fixtures. Now, we're recording this before the first game has taken place, so who knows what's happened in that. But you'd like to think that it's probably going to be a competitive game the second leg as well. So that being a factor, is Alvarez just going to start ahead of Haaland? And would I hedge my bets by having them both? Because whoever's going to play for Man City up front or in attacking midfield against Luton is probably going to get some points. Now, there is also the case that Haaland plays, Foden plays against Luton, but De Bruyne is rested because De Bruyne's injury record this season is a lot worse than the other two. So there is the possibility to go triple Man City attack for 1 week only and go Alvarez, Haaland and Foden against Luton at home, because also you've got to remember, last time they played Luton in the Cup, I think they beat them like 7-0, so there is the scope there for goals. Now, the flip side of this is that maybe Alvarez doesn't play, or Man City are 3-0 up at half time and they just kind of shut up shop and just pass the ball around the back for 45 minutes, making sure nobody gets injured and you don't get the flurry of goals that you thought you'd get. It's a risk worth considering for me, but they're my three main options. Now, the second transfer I'm going to make is probably going to be Lascelles out, and I've kind of paired up these players. So the first player we're going to talk about is Rico Lewis from Man City. Now, he's paired with Darwin Núñez. So if I got Núñez, the next best option for defenders, I think, would be Rico Lewis. So he's actually started the last three league games, and you've also got no Ake or Walker at the moment for Man City. So I am pretty sure that Rico Lewis is going to play against Luton. So I'd be kind of banking on the Man City clean sheet there. He's not super likely to get an attacking return, even though he just scored in the most recent game. The downside of getting Rico Lewis is that it would mean I'd already have triple Man City, so there would be no room for Alvarez. Like, it's not possible for me to get Alvarez and Rico Lewis because it would be too many Man City players. But I could get Darwin and Lewis, and that'd be quite a nice combination. Both got home fixtures, both very likely to play, in my opinion. My next option, so if I did go with Matheus Cunha, would be to get Van Dijk from Liverpool. So I wouldn't have Darwin Núñez, couldn't afford both Núñez and Van Dijk. But having Van Dijk means that he is the most dead set player for minutes from Liverpool. He is the most likely to play, and having that home fixture, it's who's more likely to keep a clean sheet in this situation, Lewis or Van Dijk. I think Van Dijk is a pretty good option and, you know, someone worth considering for my team. Now, my last player for this team would be Dunk from Brighton, and he'd be combined with Alvarez. So I'd have to drop down for Alvarez in order to afford someone like Dunk. I wouldn't be able to have the funds elsewhere. And Burnley away, you know, I'm not really too keen on this option. It's kind of like, I really do want Alvarez, but Brighton defence away at Burnley, even though it's Burnley, they are scoring goals recently. You know, they are capable of getting a goal or two, and Brighton aren't known for the clean sheets this season. If I could get a combination of the first two, sort of, you know, let's say Alvarez and Van Dijk, that would be really good. I just can't afford it. So I am leaning towards option number one, which would be Darwin and Rico Lewis, and my team would look like this. So I think this is really strong. I could have taken out Pedro Porro and got in Van Dijk instead of Lascelles, and, you know, then I'm free hitting and then I'm wildcarding. But I probably would want Pedro Porro back on that wildcard, and I would lose 0.3 million of value on him. So I don't really want to sell Pedro Porro for the long term. Otherwise, I could get in that combination that I was talking about before. I also think it's important to keep your bench strong in a game week like this, where teams like Arsenal and Man City do have those Champions League fixtures either side of the weekend, because we know that all these teams are rotating players right now. So a team like Man City, I've noticed, if they rest Haaland and De Bruyne, are not very likely to come on for 1 point, say, and the same with Foden last weekend. He just stayed on the bench. So that means that Kluivert, fair play to him this season, because I've brought him in for the last 2 games and he's got a goal and an assist. He's coming off my bench, and I know a lot of you will have benefited from these points off your bench as well. So that's why I kind of want to keep hold of Pedro Porro as well. So let me know what you think about my transfers. I think this team looks pretty good. Bear in mind, it's just for 1 week and then I'm free hitting. So I'm looking for maximum points. So if there's anyone that I've not considered that you think I should get in, please honestly let me know, because I will consider all options at the moment. And if you've got any questions as well, let me know in the comments. I will get back to you, and it's always good to discuss FPL. If you are interested in free hitting in Game Week 34 as well, we have put out a super early video with our early thoughts on that fixture and that game week as well. So check that out. Link should be on the screen right about now. But thank you very much for listening. Good luck in this game week, and I will see you in the next one.